The silence in Adekunle and Fumilayo's house had grown so loud it had a physical weight. It sat on the dining table between them as they ate their jollof rice, a dish that once sparked playful arguments over who made it better. It lay in the space between them in their king-sized bed, a cold and vast expanse. After 12 years of marriage, 2 beautiful children, and a life built brick by painstaking brick, the foundation was cracking. They had become polite, efficient co-parents, strangers who shared a mortgage and memories that felt like they belonged to someone else. Conley, an architect, built worlds for others, but had let his own fall into disrepair. The long hours, the stress of deadlines, and the constant pressure to provide had turned him into a ghost in his own home. He would come home late, tired to his bones, and offer Fumi a weary smile that never reached his eyes. Fumi, a history teacher, felt like a relic in her own life. She managed the children, the home, the chaos, with a grace that masked a profound loneliness. She missed the man who would pull her into a dance in the middle of the kitchen, the man who saw the fire in her soul, not just the efficiency of her hands. The fire had dwindled to a fragile ember, and she was terrified that next cold wind of silence would extinguish it completely. The breaking point wasn't a loud fight, but a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Fumi was cleaning out an old wardrobe, battling the harmattan dust that settled on everything. In a forgotten shoebox, beneath old university certificates, she found a stack of letters. Kunli's letters. Written to her when they were young and courting, their love a vibrant, untamed thing. Her hands trembled as she opened one. The paper was soft with age. My Fumilayo. It began in his familiar slanted script. Today I saw a hibiscus flower, and its deep red color made me think of the dress you wore on our first date. It was so bold and beautiful, just like you. I cannot imagine a world where my heart does not beat your name as its rhythm. I love you not just for who you are, but for who I am when I am with you. Yours forever, Kunle. A sob tore through her, raw and painful. It wasn't just a sob for the love they had lost, but for the man she had lost and the woman she no longer was. Where was that bold girl in the red dress? Where was the man who saw poetry in a flower? That evening, she didn't set the table for a silent dinner. Instead, she waited for Kunle in the living room, the letter held in her hand like a verdict. He walked in, loosening his tie, the weariness of the day etched on his face. Evening, he mumbled, heading for the stairs. Kunle, she said, her voice quiet but firm. Please, sit. He stopped, surprised by her tone. He sat opposite her, a confused frown on his face. She didn't speak. She just handed him the letter. He read it slowly. The confident architect, the man who commanded boardrooms, began to crumple. His shoulders slumped, and when he looked up, his eyes were glistening with unshed tears. For the first time in years, she saw not the provider, not the distant husband, but the boy who had written her that letter. Fumi. His voice was a choked whisper. I wrote this? Yes, she replied, her own tears now flowing freely. You did. Where did he go, Kunle? Where did the man who wrote this go? And where did the woman he wrote it to disappear? I miss us. I miss us so much it feels like a part of me is dead. The dam of years of unspoken hurt and silent resentment broke. They didn't shout. They wept. He moved from his chair and knelt before her, taking her hands in his. They felt foreign and familiar all at once. I'm sorry, he said, his voice thick with emotion.
Fumi, I am so sorry. I got lost. I was so busy building a life for us that I forgot to leave it with you. I saw the bills, the school fees, the projects, and I stopped seeing you, the most beautiful thing I ever helped create. And I let you, she cried, squeezing his hands. I got so tired of waiting for you to see me that I built a wall around my heart. I stopped fighting for us. I let the silence win. That night, they didn't sleep in their separate orbits. They talked. They talked until the sun threatened the horizon, their voices raw with honesty. They spoke of their fears. His fear of failure, her fear of being invisible. They spoke of their dreams, the ones they had forgotten they even had. It wasn't a magic fix. The cracks were still there, but for the first time in a long time, they were trying to fill them not with silence, but with understanding. The next Saturday morning, Kunle came home early. No excuses, no delays. He walked in with a single, perfect hibiscus flower. I saw this, he said softly, handing it to her. She took it, her heart aching with a beautiful, hopeful pain. That evening, he didn't retreat for his laptop. He helped her make dinner. As the aroma of fried plantain filled the kitchen, he reached out, pulled her close, and swayed with her to the rhythm of a song only they could hear. It was clumsy and awkward at first, but then she relaxed into his hold, laying her head on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. It was a rhythm she recognized. It was the rhythm of home. They started rebuilding one small intentional act at a time, a text message in the middle of the day just to say, "I'm thinking of you," holding hands while watching television, a date night where they sat on their own veranda, drinking zobo and sharing secrets under the stars just like they used to. He started leaving work on time, prioritizing his wife over his blueprints. She started sharing the burdens she had carried alone, letting him see her vulnerability. One evening, months later, their children were laughing in the living room, the sound filling the house with a joy that had long been absent. Kunle looked at Fumi across the table, his eyes filled with a love that was deeper and richer than the fiery passion of their youth. It was a tested love, a scarred love, a love that had walked through the valley of silence and chosen to find its voice again. He reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "My Fumilayo," he whispered, the name a prayer on his lips. "I love you not just for who you are, but for who I am when I am with you." She smiled, a genuine, soul-deep smile. The girl in the red dress was still there, and the man who saw poetry in a flower was home. Their love story hadn't ended. It had simply been waiting for them to turn the page and start writing a new, more beautiful chapter together.